'07 Kia Rio, front wheel bearing. These things tend to be a little bit of a bugger. Got the car apart. This race stuck in there. Basically, just use a brass drift like this and a hammer, and because you can't fit it in a press very well. The other part of the race is on here, is still stuck. I'll have to take a grinder to cut that to get it off. You have to be really careful. In here, I'm going to take a welder and run a bead inside, and what that'll do is it'll shrink the race when it cools off a little bit, and then it should come right out. Have to do caliper and pads that turned out on the same car. I'll continue the video once I start putting it all back together. It's quite a job. Okay, now I've welded the bead inside there, and it's loosening up. I'm using the drift to hit on there, and then kind of around and stuff to get it out. Okay, that's the race. That's out. It's out of here. So now I gotta get this one off. That'll just be using a grinder. Okay, I just took a grinder and just gently kept going in there a little bit until I got it close, and then I broke a piece out with a chisel. Let's see, where are we here? Chisel. So anyway, it's ready to come off now. Here. Just gotta clean it up and press the new bearing into the hub over there, or into the spindle, and then put the hub in it, and then put the car back together. Okay, we're going to install the new bearing. Basically, it won't sit in the vice flat or anything, and it just takes too much time to set it up level, so just take a board like that and put across it and tap it down in as far as you can. It won't hurt the bearing. Once you get toward the last end of it, when if you have to, you can use the brass drift to put in a little more, or the wheel nut or the axle nut, when you tighten that up, that'll tighten it in the rest of the way anyway. Got a little bit ahead of myself. That bearing has to go all the way down in before you can put the clip on. So yeah, it has to go in before she goes in the car. This is the old race. I'm going to put the block wood on top of it and then finish beating it down into place. And then put that snap ring on and press the hub into place the same way, just using the hammer and drift and stuff, and then put her on the car. Well, this one wasn't cooperating with the board, so I took the old race, put it in the vise, and using the vise to squeeze it in. Hopefully that won't get stuck and give me a problem coming back out. Okay, the bearing's seated, the snap ring's in. I'm just going to flip it over and put the hub on it. Here's an easier way to get it on instead of beating it to death. Just put it in the vise like that. You got to make sure it's square, and if it's going hard, then it's probably not square. So right now it's going easy. Alright, this is the assembly after it's been pulled apart. Up in here there's two bolts, 17 mil each. Axle nut, I think that was 1.25 inches that I used on that, and it worked. 17 mil for the tie rod end, 17 for the caliper brackets as well. You're going to need a fork to separate the tie rod. You're going to need a bar to pry stuff, because it's a bugger. There's pullers there to get the axle out of the spline. You may not need it, but so far I have. And when I take it apart, what I did this time was unhook the tie rod end, took off the brakes, obviously. Took out the bolts for the ball joint that mount it to that spindle, instead of separating the ball joint. It gives you more space, and you don't have to worry as much. Once I did that, I had to use the puller to force the axle out of the spline, but then that could swing out with the strut. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the axle into the spindle, then the ball joint bolts, and then I can swing it in at the top and put the strut bolts in it. At that time, I got to change the caliper as well, and so I'll do the caliper and put the new pads on and that kind of stuff at the same time. Okay, the bottom ball joint bolts are in. Well, one's started, one's in. You have to move it around a lot. It's kind of a bugger. But it's better than ripping that boot by using the pickle fork, so. Okay, the strut mount bolts are in. Next I'm going to put on the axle nut and tighten that up. Then the caliper bracket, and then the new caliper, I'll have to change that as well. Well, almost done, only to discover that they sent me the wrong pads and caliper. So anyway, almost done. Pretty simple. Put the tie rod in back in, tighten it up, put the cotter pin in, this and that, and pretty much done. Good luck. If you live where there's rust, it's a pain in the ass.